So the Beavs and the Cougs got their games on TV, at least home games. Now, I don't know what happens with road games. I guess they're just at the mercy of
whoever team they're playing.
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how all that works.
So it seems good on paper, but until you remember that they have a whole other half of their schedule that we have no idea what it's going to be on. But the home football schedule for Oregon State and Washington State will all be televised. Oregon State has 7 games. Washington State has 6. All of them will be on, well, most of them will be on the CW.
Yes.
And the CW, by the way,
it's network TV.
Carries our show from 3 to 4 here locally. They have done a really good job diving into sports.
Yeah.
They pivoted and said, hey, we just want to do local sports, and they're doing a really good job with it.
They've got the Winterhawks. In fact, the Winterhawks played tonight up in Moose Jaw. That'll be there. Yeah, they've done a nice job with it. And, of course, our beautiful faces.
So Oregon State, the only home game that they have that won't be on the CW will be on Fox or FS1, and that will be the Oregon game, which is on September 14th. And then for Washington State, they'll all be on the CW with the exception of the Texas Tech game. They host them on the 7th of September, and that will be on Fox or FS1.
Yeah, one of those two. So, yeah, in the announcement, it didn't say anything about the road games, or are we to imply that those are all games?
No. It's not all games. It's just the home games that they're the CW and FS1.
So
it's probably it probably is the Mountain West.
The Mountain West. So because remember they had one of these a long time ago where remember Oregon State played like Hawaii and it was only on Facebook because we had to do off of Hawaii's TV deal. So you're right in that this is probably just going to be whatever road team they're playing, whatever TV deal they have, mostly Mountain West. It'll be wherever the Mountain West games. And then that leads to the question of where the hell are the Mountain West games played?
I have no idea. So they're San Diego State. So I'm trying to look at all the games that the road games. They have San Diego State, Nevada, Cal.
Well, that'd be under the ACC.
Yeah, that'd be ACC.
Deal. So the Mountain West deal
Air Force and Boise State.
Well, so that is the Mountain West deal is with CBS Sports and Fox Sports.
I bet you'll see a lot of them on CBS Sports.
Yeah, it'd be on CBS Sports and then again whatever
with Fox.
Yeah, but it won't be on Fox, I'm guessing.
No, but FS1 or something.
FS1 or whatever, yes.
Well, I'll be honest with you. At my house, with the setup that I have, which is all streaming, this is better. I will see more Oregon State and Washington State football games than last year.
100%.
Because I never had the Pac-12 network.
No, I mean, look, it's a little solace for Coug and B fans, and I know the schedule, and yeah, it's not great, but yes, as far as visibility goes,
well, they're going to have better game times too.
Yes,
they're not going to be shoved at weird game times.
No, so a
lot of these are 3:30, 12:30.
I guess that's a silver lining to this.
Well, it's not a bad. I mean, you got to give them this. It's not a bad piecemeal solution in the short term.
No, not at all.
It's just not. Could they have done better than that?
I don't think so.
How do they do better than that?
You don't. The problem is that there's money. There's just no money in it.
But the only thing you can do, the only thing you can control is get games
in front of
get people, like if you happen to have a good season and you're relevant,
get it out. People
may watch, and that's when you get more money.
And this is why you have to figure out in 2 years to get into the Big 12 of the ACC. The Mountain West TV deal, because in the statement, the Pac-12 said that they're committed to rebuilding the Pac-12 and all that. But we know that if you rebuild the Pac-12, it's just another version of the Mountain West. The Mountain West TV deal is $4 million per school. You can't. That doesn't work. In fact, in the new settlement we were talking about, the new proposed settlement that Yahoo got today. They're talking about from the Power 5 conferences, a $30 million a year commitment over the next 10 years to pay off this judgment. Like you can't be a $4 million, even if you get a better TV deal than the current Mountain West deal and say you get $5 or $6 million, you can't have that. You can't have that and be a major player. So I'm with you. This is a great solution in the short term. Get eyeballs, but it doesn't change the fact that at the end of these 2 years, you have to find a way to get involved in the Big 12 or the ACC to have a chance of surviving. And even then, with the new settlement, it may be tough.
Well,
but it's your only hope.
Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports just put this out today, and he said that there is no bad blood at the spring meetings for the ACC, but he writes that a divorce between the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson is going to happen.
Yes.
Like it is.
Yeah.
It's everybody's been kind of dancing around the topic, but not anymore.
No,
they're leaving.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how much and
it's
when,
all going to be litigated. But
yes.
let them hammer that out, and it's probably going to be soon. Like I don't know that the Beavs and I mean, not that to say that the ACC would just instantly take both of them, but they probably should, shouldn't they?
Well, the ACC added their team so that they don't have to add others when these schools leave. They'll still be able to stand pat. It's just would they want to go and grab? We don't know. But they don't actually have to. That's why they expanded the way they did.
Well, I guess they could have just grabbed him initially.
Yes. So we'll see. Again, it would come down to does it make financial sense? And by the way, some of this may be waiting for this settlement. The NCAA settlement with the lawsuits, the antitrust lawsuits, Dellinger had it that this could be done in a matter of weeks, that this settlement could be finalized. And once that happens, and this is what Charlie Baker is the NCAA president. I was listening to an interview the other day with him, and that's what he said. He goes, this needs to happen so that conferences and schools can have a clear idea of what's happening in the future. Because right now, that's the sticky part, is not only Washington State and Oregon State that kind of have their future up in the air, all these schools, with the exception of the Big Ten and the SEC, they're all kind of sitting around being like, God, we don't know what this looks like, right? Those schools have the financial wherewithal to be fine, but everyone else is kind of just holding their breath and saying, hey, we need to know what this model is going to look like going forward. So once that settlement happens, maybe within a couple of weeks, then maybe the ACC has their settlement talks with FSU and North Carolina and those schools. And then once that groundwork is laid and we know what the new model, what the new finances are of the NCAA Power 5 going forward, then you can get into some realignment stuff. But it may not be as long as you think. This stuff may all shake out by the end of the year.
Yeah. I keep going back to the ACC. If Clemson and Florida State leave the ACC, don't you think North Carolina and Miami and,
they may not be able to afford to.
Those other schools?
I mean, again, this is all going to be litigated, but dude, the ACC kind of has them by the shorts and saying that if you want out, it's costing you $200 million. And Florida State and is saying no. They're trying to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 and 90. But even if they settle somewhere on 150, can those other schools write a check for $150 million, knowing that you're already going to have to pay out several hundreds of millions of dollars in this new NCAA lawsuit? We just don't know what the financials or all of this is going to be. Yeah. And some schools
I'm just spitballing,
may not be willing to pay the freight.
But without knowing any of that stuff, I mean, those are all unknowns, but I'm just spitballing about realignment. If the ACC crumbles because Florida State and Clemson leave and other schools defect, what's to stop the Pac-12 with Oregon State and Washington State from yanking some of the schools out west and keeping the Pac-12?
Well, they don't have the ACC has a guaranteed $30+ million. I mean, the Pac-12 couldn't come up with $30 million a year with the teams they had.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It's just that no one's leaving for that. So,
that's a pretty bad TV deal, the ACC. I just mean,
it's terrible.
The ACC may crumble.
It's possible.
And if they start adding, we're kind of at this place with realignment now where it's like, if Oregon State and Washington State aren't next, then who?
There's really not.
We're out of movement.
You're out of movement.
Unless teams move from, SEC to Big 12 or whatever.
Honestly, the last two desirables.
And no one would do that because of money, but they might kick schools out. Or
the last two that have any sort of cachet whatsoever are Oregon State and Washington State, and they got left behind. So, there's no interest in any of those schools. No offense to Boise State or San Diego State, there just isn't. They're non.
But I'm trying to think of anything in the ACC footprint that hasn't been snatched up. I mean, SMU is in there now, out of Texas. I mean,
there's just not
what's
much
left
now.
Marshall.
I still think if you're putting the my crystal ball and looking into it, I don't think there's going to be further expansion. I think it's going to be contraction. Because when you read through the proposed settlement, the price tag per school for the Power Fives is $300 million over 10 years. Each Power 5 school is going to have to pay out $300 million over 10 years. So, I mean,
they'll miraculously find it.
But you're gonna, and then by the way, the new cap is gonna be around 21 or 22 million that the schools are gonna have to share with the student athletes. there's going to be some schools that cannot or will not play in this new world.
And that's what I mean when I say a school leaves a conference, because if they're not willing to pick to pay NIL, or I mean to pay the freight for the players, these big leagues aren't going to have them.
Yeah.
You're not competing. You're not getting players. So you're out.
Yep. So it's just, I just.
So where do those schools go and play is the question.
Probably some
like if one of those schools is, say, Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, Big Ten, Illinois.
Yeah.
Whomever. Where do they go?
Probably down to some
Pac-12.
Probably some new form of league that doesn't really compete with that. Like there's a reckoning coming, and it sounds like it's going to happen sooner than later. We thought maybe this was going to be years and years down the road, but you know, this may all shake out in the next year or two.